Okay, so this is the Chapter 9, Section 2, Labor and Government Regulation, student work. So let's get this going. So number 1 says, how do unions try to influence the demand for labor to achieve higher wages? Remember, they do this by increasing the demand for the product that the union workers produce. So they could do this like through advertising, to like buy American goods or something like that, or buy union. That's something that's done too. And then question 2 says, how do unions try to influence the supply of labor? And so unions, they do this by decreasing the supply of labor through limiting union membership. Okay, so if you can control the supply of labor, that will strengthen a union's ability to do something like strike. Okay, which is something we talked about. So what do you put in here for question 1? They try to increase the demand for the product that the union workers produce. Remember, that's one of the 2 things that you can do to increase your wage. If you think about it, right? Demand for your product is going to increase that. Okay, and then how do unions try to influence the supply? They decrease it. Okay, by limiting union membership. Number 3, the union increases demand for the good produced. Okay, so what's going to happen to the curve? First, which curve are we talking about? If we're talking about a union, right? Unions, so we're looking at the demand. And then if we're going to increase the demand for that product, which way is the curve going to shift? Well, it's going to shift to the right. And then what's going to happen to their wages? I mean, you might not know this, you might not remember it, but it's going to rise. Okay. And then what's going to happen to the level of employment? It's the number of workers here. It's also going to rise. Now let's assume that you don't know this stuff. Okay, let's go with how do I do this, Mr. Rob? So we've got our demand. Okay, that's the first thing that we had to decide is which curve is going to shift. Now you guys have done the shifting before. You've seen this lots of times. You've done this in chapters 4, 5, and 6. So it's the demand. Okay, it's what's going to change for us. So boom, that's what we do. We draw a demand curve to the right because it's shifted to the right. So here is our arrow indicating which way it's shifted. And then remember, we have to make this the next D. So this is D2. It's a terrible 2, but it's there. All right. So let's see if what we've said is going to be true is graphically proven. Okay. So the demand curve, boom, shifted to the right. The wages, which would have been here, that's our wages, have gone up. That's definitely true. And then the level of employment, which was here, has now gone to here. So our suppositions are proven right here graphically. Okay. So now we go with what happens if the union decreases the supply of union workers. Okay. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to change the supply. I mean, if you look at it, in case you're confused, this says the word demand. Okay, that's why we know it's the demand curve. This says it's the supply. That's why we're changing the supply curve. Okay. Interesting. There we go. So let's go ahead and fill out these text boxes. These boxes. So we know this is the supply, and we're limiting it, right? So if you're going to limit something, that means you're going closer to 0. So that means decrease, or left. Sorry. And then the wage for workers is going to actually increase. Oh my goodness. Ooh, wrong thing. Rises. And then what's going to happen to levels of employment? Well, you're limiting the supply, so that means that it's going to fall. All right. So let's graph this out. So first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we are on the left side of our supply curve. We want to make us another supply curve that shows that it's shifted to the left. Okay. Make sure that you indicate like so. I mean, you can also do the arrow as well. Shifted to the left. So this is S. So that makes this S2. Okay. So we said that the wage for union workers would rise as a result of this. That's proven. And we said that the number of people who are unemployed would fall. So that's the original employment numbers. This is the new one, so it's closer to 0. So these two things are true. Okay. When it comes to what's a closed shop, that's just a vocabulary term. Same thing with a union shop. I don't need to cover that. What is more restrictive, a union shop or a closed shop? Well, I mean, think about it. Look at the words themselves, right? Union or closed. So you can infer the answer there, but like once you know the answer to what a closed shop is and a union shop, you should have no problems whatsoever with question 7. Question 8, what law made closed shops illegal? Again, this is from the presentation. This is the Taft-Hartley Act. This was passed in 1947. What is right to work? Again, it's right out of our presentation. Summarize the two major views. Now, if you're confused, like what are the major views? Remember, there's the traditional view and there's the newer view. So you've got to make sure that you've summarized those two views, okay? It's not asking for your view. It's asking for the two major views, which we talked about, which again, they are traditional view and the newer view, okay? Question 11, do you think? I can't answer this for you. I mean, it's up to you. So the great thing about question 11 is there's no way to get it wrong as long as, 1, you take a position, and 2, you explain why you agree or don't agree, okay? And then the 12 says the Latin phrase caveat emptor means let the buyer beware. So in practical terms, the phrase means that consumers are ultimately responsible for their buying decisions. Lately, government has tried to reduce the burden on consumers by regulating firms on behalf of customers. Some people argue that the costs of regulation are too high. Other people say that consumers need the protection provided by regulation. List and discuss the cost and the benefits of government regulation. So I need you to do that, okay? What are the costs that are involved, okay? So if you think about this, just one of the cost of government regulation is that it's going to raise the overall cost of producing that good or service, okay? And so what's the result of doing that? Well, that means that there's going to be fewer units that are created, because remember, costs are something that take away from profits, so you don't make more of something that's going to take away your profits. Second is, besides producing fewer of the units, it raises the price of the good. And you should remember from chapter 4, if price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, okay? And this is important because prices have gone up and you're making less of them. This means that there's more workers that are becoming unemployed, okay? So there's a lot of factors when you look at regulation, okay? Another cost, though, is that it raises the taxes on these particular companies, okay? The government's got to fund these things, and when you break the regulations, you get fined, or you just have to pay a tax, period. And remember, taxes always shift supply to the left, okay? Now, there are benefits, though, and don't forget to add that, because there are benefits. The benefits include that consumers are protected, okay? And this could be, you don't have to include this, but like this could be anything from cleaner air, cleaner water, healthier work environments, safer work environments. There's a lot of different things, okay? But question 12 has a lot to it, so take some serious time and think about it, okay? And then question 13, do you think? Well, you already know what I'm going to say, so doesn't matter. Like, give me your reason, take a stand, give me your reason. You don't have to do question 14 and 15, okay? Thank you very much.